a forbidden deity, a serpent's curse, and a young man's fate. They say he who chases after the wind catches nothing but trouble. Every choice has a consequence and every desire a price. Listen to the saga of Afam, a prince whose love for pleasure sets him on a path to an unimaginable fate.
Hello story lovers, welcome to Nana's Fairy Tales, where we share amazing and interesting stories. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell to get notified when we upload another enchanting tale.
In a small village set between rolling streams and towering trees, there was a king whose kingdom was highly prosperous. This king had many wives and so many children. His home is always full of peace and laughter. However, this king had a problem that bugs him. He had a worry that keeps him awake in the middle of the night. That problem was his son Afam. Afam is the first son of his father and the heir to the throne of his father. Afam is a very handsome young man. He has the greatest share of his father's inheritance as the heir to his throne and the heir to all the businesses of his father. But he had a problem. Afam has an uncontrollable pleasure for women. When Afam sees a very beautiful woman, he loses his sense of reasoning. He wants to have an affair with any woman he sees that is beautiful and has a good body. When he goes out to drink with his friends, he would say to them, "I, Afam, can have any woman in this village, even in the neighboring community. I can take any woman I like to my bed. I have the looks and I have the money." When any of his friends tries to caution him to desist from his promiscuous nature, Afam would laugh and say to them, "This life is short too. In this life we only live once. So while you live, enjoy as much as you can and have as many women as you can." His friends got tired of him and decided to let him be. Afam would go to his farm in the morning and try to do some cultivation. But if at all a young beautiful woman passes by, Afam would leave all that he is doing and follow her. He would keep following the young woman till the woman agrees to come spend the night with him in his hut. All the women in the village warned their daughters against Afam. They advised their daughters never to have anything to do with him because of his irresponsibility. Afam will always have his way. He has a tongue coated with sugar, which he uses to lure these women, and he has the money to spend on them. Afam doesn't mind spending all his penny on a woman just to have her. After which, he would go to the bar with his friends and start boasting of the beautiful women he had slept with in the village. He was making this boast one hot afternoon at the bar. He lost control of himself and made mention of a married woman he had slept with. Coincidentally, the husband of the woman was at the bar that afternoon. The man held Afam and beat the living daylight out of his eyes. He went home and sent his wife packing for causing him such shame and embarrassment. Men in the village were put on their toes after the experience of Afam. They were all scared that one day Afam would boast of sleeping with their own wives too. King Omenuko, Afam's father, was greatly troubled. He couldn't sleep. Afam became a problem, a bone on his father's neck. His father was on the verge of losing his respect in the village because of the excesses of his son. The elders in the village shake their heads in disapproval at the disgusting character of their heir. They couldn't believe that such an abomination will one day rule over their community. One of the elders said in one of their council meetings, "Should we fold our arms and watch evil overtake our land? Igwe, you have to do something about your son. We don't think that a young man of this promiscuous nature can rule over this community." Just while we thought he was after the young maidens of the community alone, we learned that he now goes after married women. Igwe, please, give us another heir. That your son won't be allowed to rule over this kingdom, not with that attitude of his. After the meeting that day, the king couldn't sleep. He rolled from end to end on his bed. He loves his son Afam and wouldn't want to strip him of his rights to the throne. He called him one morning and began to talk sense into him. He said to him, "Afam, have you heard the proverb that says that the stubborn fly follows the corpse to the grave? Today in this community, you are the stubborn fly. The whole community is filled with whispers of all your misdeeds and stupidity. You go about leading different young women to your bed. The one you bring in Ike is not the one you would bring in Afo. As if that is not enough, you now go after people's wives. Afam, you are my son, and I won't want you to make a grave mistake. This your lousy lifestyle could cost you your birthright. The elders are already suggesting I give your throne to one of your brothers. I want you to take time and think about your life. Ponder on these things that I've said to you and give me a reply." The words of King Omenoko to his son was like pouring water on stone. None of them got to him. He would just sit quietly and pretend to be paying attention. Then when his father is done, he would just say, "I've heard what you said, Papa. I will change. I promise to turn a new leaf." When he leaves his father's presence, he would do even worse things. One day, as Afam was on his way to his farm in the early hours of the morning, he saw the back of a very beautiful woman. She was walking slowly and shaking her hips. Afam started calling her all sorts of sweet names, but she didn't turn. She paid deaf ears to all of Afam's calls. Afam ran and caught up with her. He began to rain praises on her. The girl said nothing to him. He continued praising her. "Enenebe jolo, ugebo yibo, the eyes of the morning sun. You are the most beautiful girl in this whole village and beyond." The girl just looked at Afam and hissed and continued walking. Afam followed her. She hastened her steps. Afam hastened his too in order to catch up with her. Afam followed her to her compound, and this was the beginning of Afam's predicament. The girl offered him a seat, gave him water to drink. Afam followed her into her hut and slept with her. He has won again, he said to himself. But all this while, Afam didn't see anybody in her home. Her house was standing alone in the midst of a thick forest, and Afam couldn't even ask her about her family members. His lust after her waist was all that was in his head. The girl told Afam that her name is Ugile, which means mirror. Afam screamed and said, "Oh, such a beautiful name." From that day on, Afam wakes up every morning and runs to Ugile's hut. He spends his entire day there. He stops cultivating his farmland and stops going for a drink with his friends. No one could fathom Afam's new moves. His father became even more worried. Afam tells no one where he's going to. He just gets up and leaves the house. One day, Ugebe told Afam that she is pregnant for him. Afam didn't know how to feel. He doesn't want any wife figure yet who will stop him from living his unchecked and extravagant lifestyle. He told Ugebe that she should better terminate the pregnancy, that he's not ready to be a husband or father to anyone. Ugebe burst into uncontrollable laughter and said to him, "You wish you know what's coming for you." Afam walked out on Ugebe and stopped going to see her. But the words of Ugebe wouldn't stop ringing in his ears. When she said, "You wish you knew what's coming for you," what does she mean? He will shake his head and say, "There's nothing she can do." After a week, Afam forgot about Ugebe and started following other young women in the village. But something happened one day. As he was in a room with a new catch he found in the village, the maiden immediately turned to Ugebe. Afam screamed and ran outside. Ugebe laughed so loud. Afam ran to his home and entered his hut. He shut his door, panting like a man whose head is about to be cut off. He turned to lay on his bed. Behold, a mighty pregnant snake was on his bed. The snake was staring at him. Afam screamed and screamed at the top of his voice. The snake said to him, "You can't run away from your destiny." Afam kicked his door open and ran outside. He ran into his father's chambers where he was holding a council meeting. They were all scared and wondered what would have made the stubborn and fearless Afam so scared. Afam pointed to his room. His father and his council members followed him to his room, and lo, they saw the pregnant snake lying on his bed and hissing up and down. One of the elders shouted immediately, "Abomination!" Afam had had an affair with Ugebe, the forbidden deity. He explained that Ugebe was an evil deity that lures young men who went to her for power to her bed and makes them forget their homes and families, and thus she was forbidden in the community. But once she sees a loose and promiscuous man, she goes after him. Afam's life flashed before his eyes. He couldn't believe that he had slept with an evil spirit. The king was told that the affair Afam had with this deity is more of a covenant, and nothing could be done to chase her away. If they want to have peace, Afam has to serve her the rest of his life. He wouldn't have another wife. Any day he does that, he would surely die. King Omenuko wept bitterly. Afam has finally brought indelible shame to his household. According to the tradition of the land, no man that has anything to do with that forbidden goddess will ever be a member of the society. Afam was exiled from the community. He had to go live in the deity's shrine. Because of him, his family was stripped of their right to the throne. Another family took over the leadership of the community. Afam lived every single day of his life in tears and regrets. He married the Serpent and have to live with her the rest of his life. Should he die? But what's the meaning of life if you're trapped in a shrine of a forbidden deity? What do you think about Afam's story? Do you think she deserves his fate? Or do you think the gods would have shown him mercy? Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comment section. And don't forget to come back next time for another intriguing story.